Prvi govornik na kongresu je Ronald Seeliger, generalni direktor Hemofarma. Hemofarm ne treba posebno predstavljati. Najveća farmaceutska kompanija u Srbiji sa prometom od preko 250 miliona eura i sa 2500 zaposlenih. Takođe, Hemofarm je deo nemačke grupacije Štada, koja je jedna od najvećih nemačkih farmaceutskih kompanija. Ronald je generalni direktor Hemofarma kao i predsjednik Nemačko-srpske privredne komore. Pored toga, Ronald je radio dugo godina i kao konsultant za velike svetske korporacije, a i doktorirao je na temu Balanced Scorecard. Pored toga što fenomenalno vodi kompaniju Hemofarm, Ronald izgleda sjajno i verujem da će naše drage kontrolerke veoma pažljivo da slušaju i gledaju njegov govor. Ronald Seeliger, generalni direktor Hemofarma.
Bojan asked me to say a few words here in Controller Congress. I said, actually, who am I to say something about controlling? I'm at this very moment just managing director, so I'm sure you are more on the cutting edge of everything. What he didn't tell me actually, or he just kind of indicated that what kind of a good show it is here, with this whistleblowing just to come in, with Tito on the screen. I'm amazed, and all this exercises, standing up and sitting down. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me here and listen to me now for the next 19 minutes and 20 seconds. It's a big sign here downstairs, so I know that it's going to blink after when it's just down to 3 minutes. Bojan, when we discussed about what to talk about, he said, listen, maybe just talk about what you expect from controllers in the next generation. This is a rather big subject, actually. I'm not condescending enough to basically give advice to anybody for the next generation. We are in this world now today, and we know what it is necessary to be a good controller, to be a good part of a team. And maybe just let me talk about a bit of my career and about the things which I found out, and then come to conclusion what there might be some indication for what it takes to be a good controller in the future. I was studying actually a subject called Wirtschaftsingenieurwesen. This is business administration and mechanical engineering. If you translate it properly, it is, or literally it would be saying engineering business. This is some first indication that I was about to head into controlling, and I'm quite proud and enriched by what I then endured during my career until today. Yes, my PhD thesis was actually not about balanced scorecards. It was using the balanced scorecard model to have a controlling model for process-oriented media companies. Wow, what a big subject. I didn't know anything about media. I never really studied controlling. I never really thought about processes, but I thought this is the right thing to do. So I started doing this. And while starting doing this, I was getting in touch with the media. I was in the companies talking to the guys, extracting the knowledge which I needed, which I thought I needed for my thesis. And it turned out to be quite interesting, and in the end it was basically matching what they needed in terms of indication how to monitor the whole, let's say, chain of rights, exploitation, and balanced scorecard was one of the key elements, and still is now one of the leading things which is following me in my management career. Being highly educated, spending too many years in university, then I started sometimes later working in real life, and then probably at those days, controller was about Excel and fancy formulas, and in my first job I had also the pleasure to build a super nice tool which was having a lot of input and producing a lot of graphs in the end, and being comprehensive in project controlling, risk management and so on. I was very proud of this. Then I went to another company that had an even more fancier tool. It was so big at those days, you know, we had these floppy disks, didn't fit on the floppy disk, we needed to have something else to distribute amongst us. To do the whole budgeting process. Amazing tool. Both companies went bankrupt. Then I went into another company, highly profitable, sports industry, and I was also head of controlling, head of management accounting in those days, and I started counting planes, and I started counting actually assets and identifying the businesses on a very low level in terms of sophistication. It was interesting to see how highly diversified companies try to be controlled or try to be managed by fancy tools, ending up making the wrong decisions, and how one was, you probably know Formula One, Bernie Ecclestone, all these guys, one person leading a company, not that big, 200 people who were making millions of turnover and even more millions of, quite a lot millions of profit in the end. But not being equipped with fancy tools, not being highly sophisticated in their way of managing, but successful. I turned out to be talking to engineers about, those days it was, just to say some few words about this business. They actually made their money by selling the rights to the racetracks, selling broadcasting rights, and producing the footage feed, so the filming and the timing as such. And we had a huge operation about 200, big operation about 200 people who were taking literally all the stuff which you need to produce these things from one circuit to the other. It was about 1.5 big jumbo jets which went from one race to the other just to provide the necessary technical gear. And I was sitting then down with the engineers, and we went on the plans, and they were quite excited actually to have the first time somebody who was actually into this, was interested to see what they were doing, understanding what they're doing. And we discussed all these things. It was quite fascinating. I think this is one of the main things, I'll come to this later again, which is necessary. It's not about the fancy tools, it's about curiosity, it's about getting into details, talking to the people, and making them understand, or making them understand that you're genuinely interested and really understanding what they're doing. We closed the operation down, made a lot more profit thereafter. It was quite interesting. Bernie actually fired me in the end because he hated Germans, and I'm still German, so, and he was absolutely against transparency. Whenever I called somebody to ask questions, I knew that at least 3 or 4 minutes later he was giving me a call too, saying, okay, why do you ask this question? Why do you need this information? I said, listen, I want to set up a budget, I want to have transparency. He said, I don't want transparency. But then I said, you don't need to employ me as a controller. He said, right, out you are. So this was where I got in this job. And interestingly enough, he fired me from Formula One. And then 2 months later, he called me saying, now I would like you to work for me personally. I have my business. I want to know about all these kind of things. I don't want people to know about my business, but I want to know about this. So I ended up again working for him. He had one of many operations he had was again a circuit or a racetrack in the south of France, nice airport attached to this, and 5-star hotel. And he called me, just said, Ronald, please go down. I just transferred another 10 million pounds, and I don't know what they're using this for. Again, they all try to kind of disorientate myself by providing me a lot of information. You probably know this. If you ask for information, either nobody's providing any information, or they provide just so much shitload of information that you can't deal with this. And this is what it was. Actually, they provided it in French, and my French is quite rusty. But I just kept on asking. I kept on digging into things, and in the end, I knew why they wasted so much money. They had all the managers down there had a very good living, excellent cuisine, excellent restaurant, and a very nice life. So I went back to Bernie and told him about this, and he was grateful to know about this. Nevertheless, at those days, he had a bigger problem, and the more costlier he divorced from his Croatian wife. So, nevertheless, so this is sometimes you're providing the right information, but probably at the wrong time. But you need to talk to the people. And this is basically the essence of what I feel we need to do as controllers. I still feel a bit as a controller, sometimes to the benefit, sometimes to the regret of my head of controlling in Hemofarm. I'm very interested in this. I need reports, I need information. This is, otherwise I can't manage the company. But I don't need Excel sheets, because then I have to extract the information by myself. I don't need analysis, what went wrong. I need just options, how to fix things. And this is basically what you need to provide. I'm pretty sure you know about this, but although it sounds like a clear, straightforward thing, this was actually the way I got to know Bojan, because he came in and helped my people, all of my people, including myself, to streamline our presentations. Probably you know, or you know the feeling. We had management meetings, long presentations, what has been achieved, and there were always records which needed to be reported upon. And after half an hour, they're finished, and you ask yourself, okay, now I know that they are doing a fantastic job. But actually, what do I do about this? I just need to hear about problems. I need to hear about options to fix these problems. I need to hear about further options to develop the business. So Bojan stepped in and made, much to the regret of my colleagues and myself, no, not to myself, but to my colleagues, he slashed down 50 slides presentation to 10 slides. And everybody was astonished, afraid not probably to miss some things, but in the end astonished about how the conversation and the discussion gained so much quality by this. It was so much more on the point, so much more focused. And I'm very grateful for this, Bojan. Thanks very much. And we keep on doing this, and we have you in our hearts every day. We have presentations. Yeah, more or less. So back to the question, actually. What are the capabilities of future generations? Is it to know the Excel the best? I'm sure you need to know Excel, otherwise you can't work. You need to know SAP. You need to know a lot of things. You are probably, or most of you are highly educated and highly experienced and trained. But what is really necessary and what really counts for myself is to feel that the controller is open-minded, that he's communicative, that he's genuinely interested and curious about what is happening, and that he can communicate. When we had the pleasure to hire our new director for controlling, one of the first good things I heard about him was one of my subsidiaries manager called me and said, wow, you hired this guy, he's pretty young actually, but you know, he asked me what I need to, how he can support me in managing my business? I've never been asked before this very question. So it was not about, wow, he produced excellent slides, he was good in doing Excel, he was doing nice graphs. No, he was just simply asking, how can I help you? What is your problem? How can I contribute to help to solve this problem? And I think this attitude makes it count. This attitude supports the one you are working for in the end. Let's say the general managers, the CEOs of your companies. This is what lasts as a kind of impression from whatever you do. And I can just encourage you to be as curious and as open-minded and as communicative as possible. If you are staying in offices, you will not learn about anything. Just go out, talk to the people, be part of this. We have also in some of our businesses, we have dedicated controlling departments within the sectors. One of is also here today, and I think he is as good as he is because he's in the middle of things. Nobody can pass by without being next to his desk. And then there are just a few words which are on the minds of his colleagues, which makes his work meaningful. You have to listen, you have to help, you have to communicate, and then focused to provide the information management needs. Again, when I conclude I have to admit, the biggest teacher or best teacher I had was actually Bernie Ecclestone. He's a very old, chubby guy, hardly seeing, but he's a very smart person. So whenever I had to come to his office to report on things, I had probably about 1.5 minutes, either to catch his interest, upon which he would just take up the receiver and solve the problem as I advised him to do, or after 2 minutes, the latest, took my papers, put it in the shredder and said, come back whenever you are ready to get my interest. Get the interest of your managers, be sharp in what you're telling them, and be the best friends and supporters to your colleagues, because this is what it makes to form a team, and this is what it makes to be successful. Thank you very much for this.